Jenna and I first met about 7 years ago, and we hit it off straight away. We were both brought up in the heartland of America, where our strong Christian values meant that God was at the top of the list, even above family. Sundays were spent in church discussing our future and what life had in store for us. I built a solid career as an engineer with plenty of prospects, while Jenna excelled in her job selling accounting software for a big tech company out of Dallas. Before we got married, my parents, who had a lot of money, gave me a 3-bedroom house. They gave us the house as a graduation present. They believed in sharing their success while they were still alive, unlike most people who wait until after they're gone. Jenna and I got married a little over 5 years ago, and since then it's been like an ongoing honeymoon. We had a great sex life, with us coming together at least 4 times a week. Our friends joked about how we seemed like soulmates, and some of they were envious of how close we were. Our lives were made even happier when we were blessed with twin girls. Raising them became our top priority, creating a loving and nurturing home. Some might say our life was boring, but we loved it. Most evenings we stayed in, cooking at home. We saved Friday and Saturday nights for going out, and Sundays were always reserved for church. We weren't much for socializing or. Jenna's wardrobe was pretty conservative, both at work and at home. We kept intimacy private, never showing too much affection outside the bedroom. Our marriage was built on trust and openness, which kept it strong. Jenna was naturally affectionate, always showing her love through gentle touches, kisses, and hugs. I loved that about her. We shared everything with each other, and while raising twins came with its difficulties, I cherished every single moment. Sure, they stressed Jenna out at times, but I was always there to help her through it. We communicated well, tackling problems as they arose, and life with Jenna and the girls was going great. Then, a week before her company's annual exhibition, Jenna got word that she had to attend because some of her coworkers had caught a virus. Jenna had caught a virus and had to go to the doctor. She was really sorry to leave us for 3 days, but there wasn't much she could do. She said she tried to avoid going by talking to her boss, but her boss was really strict. Jenna said she hated being away from us. I reassured her that we'd be fine for a few days, but that we definitely missed her. I helped her pack and we left together for the limo her company had arranged to take her to the airport. Our marriage was rock solid, full of trust and honesty. Jenna had never given me any reason to doubt her love or faithfulness. We were always open with each other, especially when it came to raising our kids. On the second night she was gone, I got a message from Mike, a colleague and buddy of mine who was at a cybersecurity event in Dallas. He mentioned he had seen Jenna at the exhibition and asked if I was attending the same conference. He said she was in Dallas but didn't know what exhibition she was at. His message made me curious about what he was trying to say. Then he sent 2 photos and a short video. I felt a sense of dread wash over me. The first picture showed my wife in a dress I'd never seen before. The shortest one I could imagine her wearing had a deep neckline showing more than I was used to. She was also wearing heels. I didn't recognize her hair or makeup. She looked amazing. I thought, oh, it'd be great if Jenna dressed like that more often. But then I realized it was Tom Foster, her boss. I just stood there, mindlessly staring at the images, unable to process what I was seeing. Then there was a close-up of Jenna smiling at Tom. My heart dropped. I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. But it was hard to believe the video was next. It was short, but the impact was huge. In it, Jenna kissed Tom, her arms wrapped around his neck while his hand rested on her chest. In that instant, my world collapsed. I couldn't breathe. I felt sick. Tears poured down my face. A message popped up. Are you okay? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to check on her? I responded, yes. I'll call her right now. I dialed Jenna's number, but it went to voicemail. After a few rings, I left a message telling her we missed her and hoped she was having a good evening. Then I messaged Mike to update him. I just tried to reach her, I said. Mike replied quickly, sounding guilty. Hank, I'm sorry about all this. She looked at her phone, saw the call, and just put it back in her pocket. I've never seen her act or dress like this. It's all right, Mike. Thanks for telling me you've been a good friend. I'll handle this. No need to follow her. Just let me know if anything else comes up. Are you going to be okay? No, but I'll manage. I know what I need to do. Thanks again. I sat in the living room, nursing a strong drink, trying to make sense of everything. How had I missed this? How long has it been going on? Nothing added up. Our relationship had only gotten stronger in the past 6 months. We were closer than ever. None of it made sense. An hour later, Mike sent more photos and videos. One clip showed them dancing with his hand on her back, another captured a kiss on the dance floor, and a photo showed them locked in a deep kiss, completely unaware the music had stopped. I knew it was over between Jenna and me, but there was still so much I needed to understand and work through. Using my problem-solving skills from years as an engineer, I spent the next few days carefully plotting my next move. Then Jenna surprised me with a call around 10 p.m. morning. Right after I'd received the last of those I took a deep breath and tried to keep my emotions in check as I looked at the photos. Hey, sorry I missed your call earlier. I was at a dinner meeting and couldn't talk. I miss you so much, babe. I wish I could be there with you, cuddling under the covers and showering you with kisses. I miss you too, Jenna. I love you so much and I appreciate you calling. The girls are doing great, by the way. I'll send you some. The photos show how much they miss you and can't wait for you to come home. I tried to get out of here tomorrow, but my boss insisted I stay. I hate being away from you guys, but we'll celebrate when I'm back. I've finished for the day, I said, trying to sound casual. Yeah, I'm about to go to bed. It's been a long day. Love you, babe. I'll call you tomorrow. Good night. I love you more than words can say. Jenna, good night. After I hung up, the tears came again. Everything I'd said was true. I did love her more. I kept hoping this was all just a bad dream, but as the hours passed midnight, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing. Was she really in her hotel room? What was she doing right now? I got another message from Mike, and it was another photo. This time, it was Jenna and Tom sitting on a couch in the hotel lobby. They were kissing. His hands were sliding up under her skirt, and her arms were around his neck. It looked like a couple in love, showing affection in public. One last thing, Mike's message read, I'm done for the night, but it looks like she's busy. Let me know if you want me to stop. I can put an end to this. I stared at my phone, trying to keep my emotions in check. It's tough to see, but thanks for the photos. You don't need to follow her anymore. Let her go. It's her mistake, not yours. I appreciate everything you've done. I'm so sorry. I'm here if you need me. Thanks. I'll take care of it. I cried myself to sleep that night, knowing that the woman I loved more than anything had betrayed me. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and I found some brief comfort in remembering our wedding vows and the joy of raising our daughters. The next morning, Jenna sent me a flurry of affectionate messages, filled with hearts, kisses, and emojis. She told me how much she missed me and the girls, even hinting at a passionate night together when she got home. When she finally returned, she was sweet and acted like nothing had happened. I started to wonder if maybe she had some kind of dissociative disorder or was unknowingly medicated. I searched for any kind of explanation, but deep down I knew I had to face reality and prepare for her return. Our conversation seemed normal, with Jenna telling me how much she longed to be back with us. What hurt the most, though, wasn't just the affair itself, but the lies she told to cover it up. That deceit felt just as devastating as after seeing those photos of Jenna kissing Tom, I decided to take action. I used my tech skills to discreetly install tracking software on her phone. I'd initially gotten the software to keep track of lost devices. I made sure to get the latest version and even walked Jenna through setting it up. I acted like it was just for convenience. The software had a voice recording feature that could capture calls, texts, and emails automatically uploading. I wanted to be clear that I never intended to spy on her before this. After what I'd seen, though, my trust was shattered and I felt like I had no choice. My top priority now was protecting our daughters and, if possible, salvaging our marriage. I was also caring for the twins, which kept me busy and gave me some respite from the constant heartache. Whether it was making them breakfast, cleaning up their toys, or playing dolls, those moments were a lifeline amidst the chaos. Let me tell you, taking care of caring for 2-year-old twins is no easy task. It was around 2, it was midnight. And I had just put the girls down for their nap after tidying up the house and taking a shower. I sat down at the kitchen table to catch up on things Jenna had sent me. She'd sent 6 more sweet messages saying she'd call at 5 p.m. When her workday ended, I logged into the cloud account from my laptop and reviewed everything that had been recorded since I'd set up the spying software. I was amazed to read the texts between her and Tom. Here are just a few excerpts. You were amazing last night, babe. I can't wait for tonight. Thanks, honeybee. I had a great time too. Let's meet in my room after work before dinner. Sounds good, but I need to call my husband first. I'll be ready by 5:15. Does he suspect anything? No, he thinks I'm still in love with him. We've kept it a secret for over 6 months and he has no clue. I slammed the laptop shut and hurled a lamp across the room. I watched it smash against the wall, releasing the rage I had been holding in. It finally exploded just as I was about to throw something else. I heard the twins crying from their room. Their cries brought me back to reality, and I quickly calmed down. I rushed into their bedroom and scooped them up in my arms. I held them until they calmed down, then cleaned up the broken glass from my outburst. I let the girls play in the living room while I poured myself another strong drink, trying to process everything that had happened. Our marriage was beyond repair, and it was time to act. I didn't have the emotional energy to listen to more of. I didn't have the energy to go through their conversations or look at any more files, so I let them pile up in the cloud. My plan was to keep up appearances with Jenna, pretending to be the loving husband she thought I was, while figuring out my next steps. I needed to contact a divorce lawyer, hire a private investigator, and ensure I could get custody of the girls. I told her that being there for her and the girls was the most important thing. Jenna said, "How are the girls doing?" "They're missing their mommy," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Oh, I miss them so much," she said, her voice filled with affection. "Of course, I miss you too. I can't wait to wrap my arms around you. I'm going to give you the biggest kiss when I get back." I played along just like I'd planned. "I think of you constantly, darling. I can't wait to hold my lovely wife again soon." "My love," she purred, "we'll be together soon." I somehow kept it together, and our call lasted exactly 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, she ended the call with, "I love you, Hank. I've got to catch the back to the hotel, but I'll message you later." I responded, knowing full well it was just another lie. She had gotten good at this as I hung up. The hurt from her deception was now turning into something darker: contempt, anger, a need for revenge. I had loved her with every fiber of my being, and the betrayal cut deeper because of it. But I was determined to expose her lies and make her face the consequences. When Jenna got back from her trip, I met her at the airport. She gave me a big hug and kissed me like nothing had changed. Either she was a great actress or she still cared about me. I couldn't figure it out. Was her affair with Tom just physical, or was there more to it? That evening, she spent a long time with the girls, enjoying every moment with them. Later that night, she was really affectionate in bed, telling me how much she'd missed me. The girls said it was tough being away from us. She said she wanted to be close to me and hold me in bed. She was tender and loving, which was the opposite of the woman I'd seen in those photos at the exhibition. I returned her affection, playing the role of the doting husband. I savored every moment because I knew it wouldn't last much longer. I hid the painful truth from her, continuing to shower her with love every night to everyone else. Our relationship looked perfect, and people even envied us, but it was all for 3 long months. I kept a close eye out for any signs of infidelity, but I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Jenna came home at her usual time, no unusual phone calls, no strange messages. Part of me even started to hope that maybe it was all a mistake and that things might somehow fix themselves. Then one day, I got a call from Carlos, the private investigator I had hired. We arranged to meet the next day at his office downtown. When I arrived, he greeted me and led me into a conference room. "Again, Mr. Carlos," I replied, bracing myself for what was coming. "I wish I had better news. Unfortunately, I have some tough information to share," he said, his expression serious. "Are you ready to go over our findings?" I sighed and nodded, though I already knew deep down what he was going to say. Carlos placed a thick leather binder in front of me. It was divided into sections: text messages, voice transcripts, video calls, phone records, and photos. "Mr. Carlos, before we dive in, I just want to say that I'm confused. I've been monitoring. I've been keeping an eye on her for the past 3 months and everything has seemed normal. She's been a model employee. This doesn't make sense." "Let me walk you through it," Carlos said calmly. "We'll see if anything becomes clearer." I hadn't been able to bring myself to review the files in the cloud, clinging to the hope that somehow this would all work out. But that hope was shattered as Carlos flipped through the pages. There were over 75 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, and 75 pages of time-stamped photos showing Jenna and Tom going in and out of hotel rooms together. There were over 82 video calls and 50 pages of phone transcripts. Jenna and Tom have been meeting at a motel at least 4 times a week for the past 3 months. Carlos explained that they'd been spending an average of 2 hours together each time. I felt sick as I listened, and then Carlos showed me a photo of a second man for the past month. "It seems she's also been seeing this man," he said. "Do you recognize him?" I stared at the photo, feeling the blood drain from my face. "Is that Charlie Gray?" "He's the CEO of her company," Carlos said. "You're telling me she's involved with 2 men, one of them being the CEO?" Carlos's expression softened. "I'm afraid so. Based on the evidence from the text messages, phone calls and videos, it's clear she's been in a physical relationship with both of them. There are also some UPS of their faces, and the audio was recorded too." Carlos played the video on a massive 80-inch screen. My heart broke a little when I saw the woman I used to love leaning over the balcony with her CEO behind her. I felt sick. I had to leave the room for a few minutes to calm down. When I came back, I asked Carlos to continue. I needed to know everything about what my wife had been up to. "The video labeled Balcony 2 shows your wife with both Charlie and Tom at the same time." Carlos said, his tone was serious. "I'm sorry to have to show you all of this, but since they were in public, these recordings could be useful if you decide to move forward with your divorce." "And the custody case?" I sat there, my mouth hanging open, still struggling to comprehend how this could be Jenna. I prayed desperately that there had been some mistake. "Hank," Carlos continued, "we've looked into both Tom Foster and Charlie Gray. Tom has been married for 10 years and has 4 young kids. Charlie has been married for 25 years with 3 grown. The text messages between your wife and Tom show that Tom introduced Charlie into their activities after Jenna expressed interest in a love triangle. It's quite the read, but I'll leave it with you to review at your leisure. Here's the folder and a USB drive with everything your lawyer will likely need." My lawyer was amazed at the amount of evidence we'd gathered. She couldn't believe that Jenna had managed to hide her infidelity so well at home. Jenna kept playing the role of the devoted wife and mother, acting like everything was perfectly normal. My lawyer went through the various legal options based on the evidence I'd provided, but we scheduled another appointment for the following week, and I told her to start filing the divorce papers as soon as possible. I left the lawyer's office feeling pretty empty inside. I knew it was over long before these meetings, but watching those videos had made me lose any last hope of reconciliation. I couldn't stop thinking about the woman I thought I knew. That evening, after the girls were in bed, Jenna and I watched a movie I'd found on Netflix called Unfaithful. I'd heard it was good, so I suggested we give it a try, knowing the film's theme. I was prepared for a conversation I needed to have. During the movie, I mentioned a female colleague at my office who had been flirting with me for months. "Can you imagine me with another woman?" I chuckled, trying to keep things light. Jenna's eyes narrowed. If I catch you even thinking about being with her, I'm gone. You're mine, no one else's, she said, sounding very serious. I couldn't believe she was so angry about the idea, given her own actions. Hank, why didn't you tell me about her sooner? What's her name? Jenna asked, pressing me for details. I just ignored her, Jenna. What about you? You're the most beautiful woman in your office. No one flirts with you, of course. She snapped. They all know I'm married and I never cheat on you, so in all the years we've been together you've never once entertained the idea of being with someone else, not even a friendly kiss. Have you ever cheated on me? Her anger flared. How could you ask me that? I've always told you how much I love you and I've always been faithful to you. I can't believe you'd even think that. You'd even think that I'd quickly apologized and agreed with her to keep the peace, and we'd resumed watching the movie. I couldn't help but laugh to myself. She could have been an actress, with how convincing she was. No wonder she was so good at her job. Once the tension died down, she leaned against my shoulder, and I knew it was time. I picked up my phone, opened the messaging app, and pulled up. I saw a photo of Jenna and Tom kissing on the dance floor. His hand was on her back. What are you doing, Hank? Why aren't you watching the movie? What I'm looking at is a bit more real, I replied calmly. What do you mean? She asked, her voice growing uneasy. I muted the movie and turned my phone screen toward her. The image of her and Tom locked in a passionate kiss filled the screen. The room fell silent. Jenna's mouth moved as if to explain, but no words came out. That's quite the kiss you're giving Tom, I said, my tone sharp. Where did you get that dress? She finally managed to ask. I was at dinner with my friend Tom Foster. My friend Mike spotted you too. He texted me to confirm if it was really you. Turns out it was, and he sent me this. I've got to say, you look stunning in that dress. I've never seen you look so revealing. Are you trying to impress your boyfriend? If so, go ahead. I'm all ears. What's your explanation? She fumbled for words, her confidence wavering. It was just one dance. Hank was drunk. After the song ended, he grabbed me and kissed me. What you don't see is that I slapped him right after and caused a scene. I'd never. I should have checked that dress before I bought it. I was at a business dinner and didn't realize how revealing it was until now. I'm really sorry. I could see she was trying to salvage the situation, but I wasn't convinced. I get it, things happen. Was that the only incident? Yes, baby, and it won't happen again, she said, her voice shaking. I played along, letting her believe I was buying into her excuses. We picked up the movie again, but I could tell Jenna was on edge after a few minutes. I reached for my phone again, this time playing a video of her and Tom sitting on a couch, his hands sliding under her skirt. She shot me a panicked look. What are you watching now? Remember that night you called me saying you'd had a long day and were heading to bed? She whispered. Well, Mike sent me another message about 2 hours later. This time it was a video. Want to see? I asked, hitting play. The video showed Jenna and Tom kissing on the couch, with his hands roaming where they shouldn't have been. I'm eager to hear a new explanation, I said, smiling. By now, my anger had turned into something colder, contempt, and a strange sense of amusement at her desperation. Jenna's voice was trembling. Hank, I'm really sorry. After we finished speaking, Tom called me to discuss a client issue we have for the next morning. He asked me to meet him in the lobby to go over some details. I had a few drinks and got a little tipsy. You know how I am when I've had too much. I know the video looks bad, but nothing else happened. I told him to stop and reminded him that I was married. I went to my room and raised an eyebrow. That's part of the problem, honeybee, I said, watching her flinch at the nickname. I've always believed you, but in the last 20 minutes you've lied to me twice. Can you understand how I feel? Here I am sitting at home, and the woman I love is off kissing her boss in some bar, wearing the most revealing dress I've ever seen. How do you think I feel? Hank, I love you. That was 3 months ago. Why didn't you confront me earlier? I wanted to see if you'd come clean on your own. I hoped you'd be as honest and transparent as we've always been. Now I see where we stand. Tell me, are there any other lies? Do you have feelings for him? Are you thinking I was toying with her, enjoying the way she squirmed under the weight of her own deceit? She started crying harder, swearing up and down that she loved me and only me. Jenna, please don't keep telling me how much you love me. I know you do, and I still love you, but that doesn't change the reality of these photos. I need answers. Are there any more lies? She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Hank, please believe me. Nothing more than a kiss happened. I told him to stop every time. I don't know what Mike told you, but you have to trust me. For him? Do you have feelings for him? I need the truth. Her tears started up again. No, Hank, I only love you. I never want to lose you. I don't know why I dressed that way. Maybe it's because the other women were wearing similar outfits, and I wanted to fit in. I felt insecure, but nothing happened. I swear I gave her a long look. My mind was already set. I understand that, but why didn't you tell me about Tom and what happened between you? If nothing happened, why hide it? I didn't want to upset you. She whispered. Hank, my boss, and I didn't want to risk my job. If anything had actually happened, I would have told you right away. You believe me, don't you? I comforted Jenna with a kiss, gently holding her as she cried. That moment marked the beginning of my month. I had a long-term plan to get my revenge that night. We made love and I found myself detached, imagining her as if I were one of her lovers. I wasn't about to deny myself her body, nor would I caution her about anything unusual. She played her role perfectly, but at that point I didn't care. She was more passionate than ever, trying to convince me that I was the only one in her heart. This routine continued for the next few weeks. Every night her performance was flawless, and I simply sat back and enjoyed the show. The next morning, I checked the cloud for any new messages with Tom. As expected, she didn't disappoint. Oh my God, someone took photos of us at the exhibition and sent them to Hank. His friend saw me at the restaurant without Hank. I'm not sure if he knows yet, but the videos showed us kissing. I remember a guy with a phone across from us, but I didn't think much of it at the time. How did Hank react? Nothing. I told him it was no big deal. He has no idea I spent the night in your room. I told him it was just because I had a few drinks and made amends. He's always been easy to sway with a few kisses and some good sex. He forgets everything. Be careful, babe. We'll meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. morning. As usual, I couldn't wait. Love you, honeybee. Love you too. That was the last message. I sat there for a moment, taking it all in. I felt like the world's biggest fool, but there's a strange satisfaction in plotting your revenge, so I continued carefully and deliberately. Meanwhile, I enjoyed watching Jenna's little charades, waiting to see how many more lies she could tell. My first priority was to secure my financial affairs. I transferred funds, closed accounts, and the like. I kept my main Visa card active but reduced the credit limit to $2,000. I transferred $500 just to cover my bases. Jenna was clueless about my mounting frustration. She had no idea about the changes I was making. I checked with my lawyer and he confirmed that I wouldn't be forced to leave once the papers were served. Then I drafted the infamous email and attached videos, texts, and photos. I planned to send them to all of Jenna's contacts, including her friends, family, and colleagues. I also created duplicate binders for Mrs. Faust and Mrs. Gray so they could see what I was going through. These would be sent at the same time as the legal notifications. My lawyer was preparing to file public civil lawsuits against Tom, her boss, and Charlie, the CEO. My lawyer was eager to drag the CEO into the mess we were planning to propose a settlement before the full extent of their actions was revealed. I also worked with a child services attorney to make sure I'd get full custody of the girls. I gathered all the necessary documents for weeks, and everything seemed normal. Jenna and I spent time with the kids, acted like the perfect couple, and kept up appearances. Our conversations avoided the elephant in the room, and I'm sure my silence drove her crazy. The uncertainty of what I was thinking must have been torture for her. I dropped a few probing questions here and there, so she'd have to think about what she was saying. I asked Jenna a few questions here and there. One evening I said, "Has your boss done anything about what happened at the exhibition? Is there anything you need to tell me?" I knew everything from her conversations with Tom, but it was entertaining to watch her lie. I could even predict when she was about to do it. She kept her composure though, telling me that nothing had happened and that their interactions were strictly professional. "We've been so busy, we hardly talk anymore," she said, her voice steady. I smiled to myself, still amazed at how easily she could lie to me. She was the mother of my children and the woman I once loved. That night, I decided to release the last of my anger. I confronted her, not with words, but by taking full advantage of her in bed. Gasped, breathless. "What's gotten into you? You're being so wild tonight. I've never seen you like this, but I enjoyed it." I just smiled to myself, knowing this would be our last encounter before everything blew up the next day. I was going to take everything I could from my soon-to-be ex. The next afternoon, the sheriff walked into the office of Omnitech Industries and asked to see Mr. Gray. Moments later, Sheriff Clark handed Charlie an envelope. "Mr. Gray, you've been served," Tom demanded. "What the hell? How did this happen? If my wife finds out about this, I'm done," Charlie growled. "This is on you. You promised me this woman would never leave us exposed like this. Fix this, Tom, or I'll ruin you and your family." Charlie was not a man to be crossed. He had clawed his way to the top of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and had no intention of backing down. Tom rushed out of the office, his mind racing. He needed to talk to Jenna immediately. As he made his way down the hall toward her office, he saw the sheriff leaving from the same direction. Bea was bursting through her door. He found Jenna sitting at her desk, tears streaming down her face. Tom replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how he found out, but I've been served with divorce papers. There must be more evidence than just those 2 photos you showed me," Jenna said, her voice trembling. "You need to convince Hank to drop this, or Gray will destroy us." "Oh, Jenna, this is terrible," Tom said, his own voice shaking. "I don't want to lose Hank. I have to find a way to fix this." Tom urged Jenna to go home, talk to Hank, and try to make him see reason. He also asked her to call him that night to keep him updated. Jenna packed up her things and drove home, the man she loved and the father of her children. She didn't want the divorce to happen, but she couldn't resist the excitement of the affair. Now she needed to make him understand that she couldn't lose him over this. When she arrived at the house, it was empty. The girls were at Hank's sister's place as they were every afternoon, while we both worked. Jenna called Hank's sister and asked if she could keep the girls overnight. She didn't hesitate. Jenna showered, did her hair and makeup, and waited anxiously for Hank to come home at 6. "It's 6 p.m. She heard the garage door open and her heart pounded as she braced herself for the confrontation that was about to unfold. "Jenna," I said as I walked in, "I didn't expect to see you tonight. I figured you'd be with Tom, but he's married with kids, so this could get awkward." She looked calm and pleasant, as if she was more at ease than usual. She'd been preparing for this. I played along, "Hank. As you already know, I was served papers today, but I don't want a divorce. I love you and I need you. I won't sign those papers. Tom means nothing to me. Yes, we had sex, but it wasn't love. I just needed it, and I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. I promise." "Well, in that case, I guess I can trust you now," I said with a sarcastic smile. "Let's forget everything and go back to normal." Jenna embraced me, planting a kiss on my lips. "Thank you, baby. I love you so much. I'm so grateful you understand and forgive me. I won't lie to you again. I swear." I pulled away gently, pushing her aside. "You're delusional, Jenna. I can't trust you anymore after all the lies and deceit. There's nothing left. I gave you so many chances, but you kept lying and destroying our lives. Do you even realize what you're doing to our girls? I can't look the other way, but you can't seem to understand why I'm going after Tom and Charlie. Her eyes widened in shock. Well, those partners of yours run a multi, I continued. I'm leaving, and I'll need money to take care of the girls since they're partly responsible for destroying our marriage and my life. I'll destroy them too. I'm going to ruin their families, hit them where it hurts the most financially, and use them like they used you, Jenna. She'd never seen me like this, angry, focused, unshakable. She realized she had lost all control, both over the situation and over me. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she knelt in front of me, clutching my legs and begging for forgiveness. I felt a moment of sympathy, but my anger was stronger. I helped her up and spoke to her calmly but firmly. Jenna, here's the plan. Pack your things and stay at your mom's for a few nights. Get yourself a lawyer. We'll arrange a meeting to talk things over in the meantime. One last thing, stay away from Charlie and Tom. Things are about to get messy. That night, Jenna went to her mom's house, saying there had been a disagreement, and she needed to stay for a while. 10:02 morning. She called Tom, and Charlie was in on the conversation. Jenna called Charlie. Are you here? Yes, I'm here. What happened? Jenna asked. Did you manage to convince him to drop the lawsuits and the divorce? Charlie demanded. No, Jenna replied. He kicked me out and warned me that things were about to get ugly. Charlie's voice exploded through the phone. Jesus Christ, Tom! What have you done? If my wife finds out about this, I'm finished. You swore this woman would never turn on us. Fix this or I'll ruin you and your family. I don't know what to do, Jenna cried. Hank's out of control. He won't answer my calls or texts. Charlie cut her off. Tom, you need to set up a meeting with Hank. Make sure it's somewhere loud and public. Jenna, you'll be there too. We'll try to get him to back off if he refuses. Tom and I will explain how much worse it'll be for him and his family if he doesn't drop the lawsuits. I've got people who handle things like this and I won't hesitate to use them. Tom replied. I understand, Mr. Gray. I know what I have to do. Yes, Mr. Gray, I'll make it happen tomorrow. We're running out of time. Jenna and Tom hung up, both filled with dread. As I listened to the call, I wasn't surprised by their desperation. I was already planning my next move. The next morning, Tom called, asking to meet and settle things. We agreed to meet at 6:00 p.m. We're meeting at 4 p.m. in the courtyard. I was at my private investigator's office getting ready. We had the latest technology, including noise-canceling mics, ready to capture clear sound even in the noisy environment of the bar. The PI was also there to film the meeting for evidence. I arrived at 6. I had to keep them waiting, but when I got to the group, I saw Jenna with her 2 accomplices. Jenna, I'm surprised to see you here with your partners, but I guess we all know where your loyalties lie. So, gentlemen, what brings us here? Charlie spoke up first. In person, these videos don't really do you justice. I'm sorry, Charlie, but I can't say it's a pleasure to meet you. I understand your anger, Hank. If I were in your shoes, I don't know how I'd react, but we need to discuss something important. Go ahead, I said, playing along. We want you to drop the lawsuits against me and Tom and the company. I chuckled. That's it. Oh, sorry, no milk. I want someone to pay for taking away the most important thing in my life. I glanced at Jenna, the only woman I've ever loved and the mother of my kids. Jenna began to cry, realizing the gravity of the situation. What will it take for you to end this and take Jenna back? Name your price, Charlie said, trying to sound reasonable. I leaned forward. Charlie's tone was ice cold. He said that no amount of money could make him take her back. She'd betrayed his trust, his love, and ruined their children's lives. However, he said he'd drop the lawsuits if he got 2 things: $5 million in compensation and a meeting with both of Charlie's wives. He also said that Jenna had to confess everything to them. Charlie's face twisted in anger. He said, "Go to hell, Hank. I'll give you $100. I'll give you $100,000 and you'll sign an agreement to keep this quiet forever." I smiled, unbothered. That's not going to cut it, but I'll drop it to $4 million on one condition: your families must know the truth. Charlie's rage flared. You're sealing your fate. Think it over. Hank, drop the lawsuits and take Jenna back. It was just a flame. We can resolve this. I then sent a series of text messages and emails containing all the relevant videos, photos, and texts to Jenna's friends, family, and colleagues. Meanwhile, 2 couriers were waiting outside Charlie and Tom's houses. They were delivering packages to their wives, which were filled with binders of evidence. Charlie's phone rang, then Tom's. Their wives were calling. Charlie shot me a look of pure fury. What the hell, Hank? I'm talking to you. Are you dropping the lawsuits? I leaned back, keeping my voice calm. Calm down, Tom and Jenna. This is just the beginning. Both Charlie and Tom's phones rang again. They looked pale as they realized what had just happened. Jenna looked at me, confused. What's going on, Hank? I told her to check her email. I think she'll understand soon enough. Charlie was red. He was facing me, seething, pointing at me. You're dead, Hank. I'll slit your throat and watch you bleed out like a dog. He stormed out of the bar. Tom was on the verge of tears. He turned to me. Why? Why would you do this to me? I raised an eyebrow. Seriously? You've been using my wife every day for months, ruining my marriage. And you're surprised someone would hit back? Everything I sent to your wife was for her so she could know. What kind of man are you? You've destroyed countless lives. Tom, just then, Jenna's phone began to ring. It was her sister, her brother, her aunt. They were all calling, having seen the emails. Jenna's eyes filled with horror as she opened her inbox and saw what I had sent her. Her jaw dropped as she looked at me in disbelief. How could you do this to me? She whispered. You made it too easy, darling. I replied coolly. I still love you, Jenna, but it's... Once I've handed this recording over to the authorities and social services, my lawyer's confident I'll get full custody of the girls. You'll be lucky to avoid jail time. I'm sorry, but you need to face the consequences. Omnitech settled the lawsuit by paying me $2 million. Charlie Gray was fired as CEO and left with nothing after breaching the morals clause in his contract. He lost more than $10 million in stock options, and he also lost his severance package and was sentenced to 5 years in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. His wife divorced him while he was in prison, leaving him broke and homeless. Tom didn't fare much better. His wife divorced him, taking half of everything in alimony, and he lost his job and was fined $1 million in a civil trial. He ended up working as a day laborer, bankrupt and destitute. As for Jenna, she received a 5-year prison sentence. She got a year in prison, but I helped get that reduced to 1 year of house arrest and 4 years of probation. She lost custody of the kids, and I now have full custody. She spiraled into depression and ended up living in her mother's basement, cut off from her family. She hasn't seen the girls since. The destructive spiral began while revenge brought some satisfaction, but it hasn't healed all my wounds. I still have love for Jenna, but the betrayal lingers. Taking care of my daughters keeps me going, but it will be years before I can open my heart to love and trust again. It's amazing how a few small actions can destroy so many lives. Caution is advised.